Hey Majid, it's Gustin. I know you might be surprised to get a video of my feet, but this is the best perspective to kind of explain what you might want to know. So looking into the Lisfranc stuff, what I've seen is a couple of like physiotherapists and orthopedic surgeons. A lot of it early on is like a pain avoidance model. So wearing orthotics and stuff to keep your shoes stiff and to keep your foot still. And then of course the surgical options of getting plates and screws. I did see some, or I looked into some rehab options, and a lot of it's going to be the same story as usual. So what really stuck out to me is using a lacrosse ball, which I have handy here. So using a lacrosse ball or other kind of rolling implements to very gradually, not only just rolling out your foot, the bottom of the foot in various orientations, whether side to side or back and forth. I also like where your Lisfranc joint is kind of here attaching through to the second metatarsal, this line coming down. You already know this. And then on the bottom side, there's two connecting to the second and third. Anchoring the ball right where that Lisfranc joint is. And this is within pain. And then even if it is a little bit painful, you can increase your pain tolerance by exposure to that pain. So, working through pain and kind of trying to grip your foot around the ball. So now you're getting some mobility back and working on your pain tolerance. The same was the case for me with my knees, of like going through a pain-free full range of motion, and gradually over time trying to tolerate that pain. My pain-free range of motion got bigger and bigger until it was, like a CrossFit standard full range of motion. So that's been valuable to me. So any kind of rolling on the bottom of the foot, incorporating some movement, rolling the calves and the hamstrings as well, because as your plantar fascia gets stiff, that can kind of radiate all the way up, into your calves and then into your hamstrings. Rolling and massaging the bottom of the foot, the calves and hamstrings can help kind of loosen up, it's essentially just stretching the tissue. And then articulations of various varieties. So right now I'm seated, and if you have a lot of pain, you're going to start seated too, to where articulations could be at the ankle. So lifting up your foot like this, pushing through, maybe even though you're seated, kind of sitting forward and putting a little bit of weight into your feet, and then pushing through that foot, because that's where the Lisfranc joint is, and that's like what's feeling painful to you. So starting to incorporate that load bearing, maybe just do 1 foot at a time, simulating maybe walking or something of that nature. Not only doing the plantar flexion, but also the dorsiflexion, the lifting of the foot. So even just sitting and walking your feet like this, you'll feel your tibialis, the muscle on the front of your shin, kind of flexing there. So you can kind of just articulate there. I think what a lot of people miss, they think of the ankle as just dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, but you also have some inversion, eversion. So trying to turn your foot up and out. So right now I'm trying to twist my foot with the pinky toe coming up and the big toe going down. And then the same otherwise, pinky toe coming down and big toe coming up. So that kind of translation at the ankle, pronation, supination, or I'm drawing a blank on, I think it's inversion, eversion of the foot. But trying to do that, not only floating here in space, but also seated, adding some load to it. So you don't see as much movement there, but the intention is to kind of twist the foot in and out. And then eventually you can do that standing, to where you're trying to get some control in those dimensions, even though that's not directly related to the Lisfranc, which is more of kind of the flexion pushing through the foot. I think that overall foot strengthening will help a lot. So all varieties of articulations, both floating, lightly loaded while seated, as well as loaded while standing, and then eventually standing on 1 foot, for example. And then I think another thing that could help in terms of just like exercises that incorporate normal foot flexion, it would be sled pushes and sled pulls. So that's encouraging you to sled pulls walking backwards, sled pushes walking forwards. And this is kind of knees over toes guy stuff, where he focuses on the knees, but that kind of stuff is also working as you push through the sled, right? You need to flex through the foot and push off that big toe, you know? And so you're incorporating a movement that, again, initially maybe that's going to be out of reach, but as your pain tolerance increases or as your pain signal decreases, you'll be able to tolerate pushing a sled through the foot. And then also, again, when you pull the sled, you're now landing on your toe, rolling through the heel, and then lifting and replanting again. So it's working your foot in both ways. Sorry if this is creepy seeing my foot, but it's working your foot in both ways, letting it kind of articulate naturally. Again, now you're adding load. And then finally, doing any form of tib raises. So already looked at that in the articulations kind of discussion. What knees over toes guy does, he sits back against a wall, or what he recommends, and I think his system has some merit. You sit back against a wall with straight legs, and so your legs are kind of at an angle. You can imagine I have my back to a wall right now, and so my feet are planted, my legs are at an angle, and so there's like a diagonal load against my foot, and then I roll up onto my heel. And so what's making that occur is right here through the tibialis. Again, that goes all the way down and across into your metatarsal, so it's kind of pulling the tendons and ligaments on the top of your foot. And so hopefully that could restore some circulation and hopefully get that Lisfranc to kind of reattach, or enough circulation so that it can recover. So 7-minute video of just looking at my feet. I am sure you're tired of that, but these are just some thoughts based on research. Yeah, I mean, rather than a pain avoidance model, more of like a pain tolerance model. Something that has helped me with like injury and pain is that pain is just a signal. Sometimes there's injury without pain, and sometimes there's pain without injury. So feeling pain does not tell you the whole story. I'll go ahead and get my feet out of the frame. Feeling pain doesn't tell you the whole story. It might just be an erroneous signal that keeps on getting sent. So working on that pain tolerance is much more valuable than just avoiding pain. So that's kind of all I have to say about that. Again, these are just some thoughts. I'm not an expert, but after doing a little bit of research for you, these are some of my thoughts. So take it with a grain of salt, and if it helps you, then that, of course, is great. Have a great day. See you later, Majid.